Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden is an interesting turn-based tactics game because it uses the XCOM style with different levels of cover and percentage chances to hit, but with a heavy emphasis on using stealth. You only get 3 characters in your party, and your enemies not only greatly outnumber you, but also tend to do similar levels of damage and have similar levels of health. On the hardest difficulty level, which is, unusually, the recommended difficulty level by the developer, for most of the game you simply won't survive taking on large numbers of enemies. To tip the odds back in your favour, you must scout the area you are in, avoiding detection and finding the right time to pick isolated enemies off 1 or 2 at a time. This not only reduces enemy numbers, but also allows you to see how many there are remaining and what type they are, which allows you to pick the best spot to go loud from. It makes for an interesting way to play a turn-based tactics game, and yet, despite how crucial this system is, it feels wholly underdeveloped. For instance, weapon noise. The weapons in the game are either loud or silent, no in between. If you want to take down an enemy without making any noise, then your party members need to have their silent weapons equipped. But these silent weapons do almost no damage, and so can generally only be used to take out the weakest enemies. If you want to take out a stronger enemy, you'll need to switch to your loud weapons, but there's no indication as to how loud your weapons are, so you can't know whether or not you're going to alert the rest of the gang. Even more bizarrely, there's no way of telling whether or not an enemy is too close to another to be silent killed without raising the alarm, or, once in a fight, whether or not the enemy will alert more from the other side of the map. Noise levels in the form of a radius, whether they be from weapons or from enemies shouting for help, would surely have been better. Something as simple as, the more damage a weapon does, the larger the noise radius, rather than the binary choice of silent or not would have allowed for greater understanding of one's options. Speaking of radii, the enemies each have a detection radius as opposed to a sight line, which not only feels unintuitive, but also rules out the ability to include any sort of melee takedown, which could have added another layer as a possible high-risk, high-reward opportunity. Apart from one special ability for one character, there is no way to re-enter stealth once in combat either, so every enemy who joins the fight will know where your party members are, and there are no further opportunities to ambush. I also thought that the percentage chance to hit should have been sidestepped when attacking from stealth, given that to miss and thus fail to kill the intended target could have such dire ramifications that it was generally more sensible to simply reload from a previous save and try again until the dice landed in your favour. Road to Eden does at least allow you to save whenever you want, presumably in acknowledgement that plans can go tits up very easily, though on that note it would have been a little bit more user-friendly to provide a quick save button. The games that come to mind when I think of stealth in the tactics genre are Invisible Inc. and the Mimimi games, like Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun. Now, I don't think these games are perfect, and a direct comparison would be unfair given how both place a greater emphasis on not being caught as opposed to preparing for a fight. However, they don't trip up in these areas. They allow quick loading / rewinding, there's no percentage chance to hit, you can re-enter stealth when caught, enemies have sightlines, they give you the option to get close, and you have to be careful how much noise you make. Ultimately, they give the player more options, and they give them more information. Clearly, for a game like Road to Eden, such mechanics would need to be balanced out in consideration with the combat, and that wouldn't be easy. But honestly, if it can't be made to work, then abandoning the stealth elements altogether and fleshing out the combat more would be, in my opinion, a better direction to take, rather than forcing in a system that's half-baked.